It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It's the Jill on Money show, and we are here trying to take the mystery out of your financial life. Yeah, and it is the first weekend in February, so welcome to February. Got a little bit of a breather before next weekend, Super Bowl weekend. And of course, happy tax season, because tax season is open. And if you've got any tax questions, we'd love to hear from you. Our website is jillonmoney.com. That's jillonmoney.com. And you just click on the contact button. Once you're on the website, gosh, there's just so much cool stuff that we do. You can read all the blogs that I write. You can listen to old shows. Maybe you want to subscribe to our two podcasts. One is called Jill on Money, and the other is called I on Money. Okay, today we are starting with your questions, and we start with Laura in New York City who wants to talk about retirement. Hi, Laura. What can we do for you?
Hi, Jill. Yeah, thank you so much for taking my question. I can start with a little background information and then tell you what my few questions are.
Sure. Well, let's start with your overriding question. What's your your big picture question? Because then I can see, you'll tell us the information through that lens. So what's the big question that's looming for you?
So my big question is whether or not I have accumulated enough net worth to retire securely.
So my job is to say yes. So let's go there. How old are you, Laura?
I'm 61.
Okay, great. And you're still working?
Yes, I am.
Okay, full-time worker. How much do you earn?
$375,000 a year.
Ooh, baby, nice. And are you married, partnered?
I'm widowed.
Oh, I'm sorry. And are you using a retirement plan at work?
Yes, I have a 401k plan at work.
And you're maxing that out?
Absolutely.
Okay, and is it a pre-tax or a Roth?
Pre-tax.
Got it. Okay, great. All right. So do you like what you do?
I do, but I'm ready for a change.
When you consider retirement, do you think, I just don't want to work, or do you want to do something different, or you just want to know that you could basically stop altogether and be fine?
I'd like to know that I could stop altogether. It doesn't mean I won't work in retirement, but I would like that to be a non-financial choice, right?
Okay. Yeah, that's so good. And will you stay in New York City? Do you think, is this something that you would be like, oh, I'd be willing to move to make my financial reality better?
Not at this point in time. My family is in New York and I want to stay close to my family.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Also, it is the center of the universe, as I had to explain to my brother-in-law, who is perturbed at the price of real estate, even after COVID. He was not happy about having to pay up to be in New York City. And I said, that's what it is. It costs a lot to live in the center of the universe. Everyone else listening doesn't really like that I say that, but it kind of feels that way for us here, right?
Absolutely. It also offers so much.
It really does. And it does require you have some money. So let's see how much money you have to enjoy the beauty and bounty of New York City. So how much have you saved in your 401k?
So in my 401k, I believe I have about $1.6 million.
Great. Do you have any other assets like a brokerage account in addition to your 401k?
Yes, I've got other investments of about $3.2 million.
Yowza. Do you manage this yourself?
I do.
God bless you. All of that, the $3.2 million is a taxable brokerage account, or is it some of your husband's retirement money? What is it comprised of?
It's taxable brokerage, and there's a substantial amount of capital gains sitting in there.
That's not a bad problem to have. I mean, wouldn't it be worse if you're like, yeah, and I can take a crap load of losses for the next 20 years. So gains are good. We like that.
Right.
Okay. Tell me about your living situation. How much is your apartment worth?
So my apartment is worth about $1.7 million, and I have a $580,000 mortgage.
Okay. What about just boring old cash on hand?
Well, that's included in the three
In the
two.
brokerage? Okay, good. And is there anything else that we should know about in terms of assets?
No, those are all of my assets.
Okay, great. How about what it really costs you to live in a given year? So, I mean, it's weird when you make a lot of money. It's like, wow, the money just goes away. But have you ever gone the other way and sort of said, how much am I actually spending? What is my expense need for retirement?
Yeah, I'm probably spending between $10,000 and $15,000 a month.
Okay. 10 to 15 a month. Let's use 15. Is there anyone that you need to take care of? Is there a parent? Is there a kid? Is there a sibling? Anyone that you is relying on money from you?
I have a 28-year-old daughter,
Hmm.
and she's not relying on money from me, but I really would like to help her out in the
Hmm.
long run. She works in a very low paying industry, and her husband is an artist. So,
Did she not get the memo that if you're going to have one do-gooder in the couple, the other one has to be a complete sellout? I mean, that's really the issue, right? You either have to be a sellout or have a pension, but she didn't do either.
apparently not.
Okay. So is she okay? I mean, I understand they're not living large, but are they okay?
Yes, they have adjusted their lifestyle to the money that they have. She has an inheritance from her grandmother, which is around, oh gosh, how much does she have? About $350,000.
Wow.
She's not touching that. They're living off of, the money that they make.
She's your only child?
Yes, she
So
is.
she's going to obviously inherit everything. Is there a question embedded in here of that should you be doing more for her today?
A little bit. I mean, in the short term, no, because I also I don't want to enable their lifestyle too much.
Mm-hmm.
And they've made a choice, and they need to understand the impact of that choice. But I also understand that down the road, when maybe they start having children and they really see the true cost of living,
Mm-hmm.
um, I would like to know that I could help then, whether it be helping to fund childcare or college, all the kinds of costs that come along with
I
raising.
got you. I got you. Okay. So now we do some math, right? So one thing that I think is worthwhile, excuse me, considering is that obviously the $1.6 million hasn't been taxed yet. So just for fun, just because I can, I'm just going to reduce that amount by about, I don't know, I'm going to turn it, let's say by 70%. Let's change 1.6. Let's pretend it's 1.1, that you've paid all your tax on it, and that's that. And so you really have something like 4.3 million bucks. All right. Now, theoretically, on that $4.3 million, even if we did a very conservative withdrawal rate, I think you just kind of make it with like 130 grand a year coming out, which is, not bad because you'll have 130 and then you'll have your Social Security and it works. Okay. It really does work. We'll get back to our conversation with Laura in just a second. Again, if you have a question, just go to jillonmoney.com, hit the contact button. That's where you'll find us. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. And before we turn back to our listener, Laura, who's on the line, I just want to remind you that, of course, we love to field your financial questions. But if you have a more in-depth issue, if you need some customized advice, we encourage you to check out our sponsor. And that sponsor is Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth provides financial planning for a lot of different kinds of people. They do so on a flat fee basis, and it is conflict free. So that's good news. They don't have wealth or account minimums. Facet meets you where you are. So check out Facet Wealth at their website, facetwealth.com. Now, on our website, of course, we've got tons of stuff there. So you got to check out all the content. We love, love, love to hear from you. And that's why we have a contact button. And if you click on that contact button, you complete your form and there's a little box so you can check it and say, I want to come on the air. That's exactly what Laura did. And Laura is joining us today as we conclude our conversation with her about retirement. So let's get back to Laura. Now, you're not going to just take all the money out of the 401k immediately anyway. It's going to keep growing. So that's like a very conservative way to do it. So what I think is kind of looks to me like a good target is that you could retire and be able to afford to spend, probably more like the 12, like let's say in the early years, like 12 grand a month and not sweat it. The 15 grand a month, if you did it, if that drifted up, that you might plow through money pretty quickly. But I think that this all looks very good. I think the real issue is this. If you want a little bit more security, I guess the other aspect of this is that you could certainly delay your retirement, in which case you would also be able to actually have, I guess, health insurance and just have a few, a little bit more moolah floating around. What would you do if we said you could retire? What would you do for health insurance? Would you just go on Cobra and then go buy insurance through the marketplace?
Yeah, that's exactly what I would do.
15 grand a month is not nothing. It's a lot. It's 180 grand, right? It works better at 10.
Right, of course.
Could you go to I don't know what field you're in, but could you go to your boss and say, kind of tired. It's a hot job market. Can I work a little less for another couple of years and then I'll hand the reins over? Is that something that would work or not?
That's a great idea. And it is something that I have considered.
It depends which risk you want to take. Okay. So there's one risk, which is tough crap, Jill. I'm doing this. I'm tired. I already lost my husband. Life is weird. I want to have a good time. Fine. If that's the case, you can certainly call it quits. I would suggest trying to keep it more towards the 10 versus the 15 grand a month. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, the other risk is like, I don't know. It feels kind of weird. I'd rather have a little bit more security. I'd rather have my health insurance for another year. I'd rather have the brokerage account go from 3.2 to 3.4 or whatever it is. And that may be worth it. And then if you could do that simply by reducing the actual workload, maybe you could preserve your ability to work and feel productive and have a little bit more fun for a couple more years and beef up the likelihood that you could achieve your goals. I always feel bad saying to somebody like, I want you to retire the way you want to retire. If you think you could really do it on 120 or 130 or 140 grand a year, then sure. But I guess my concern always is that it ends up being 150, 180, 200 faster than you can turn around.
And can I ask you a question? When you
Sure.
say 120 a year, what about income taxes?
Yeah, you got to pay them.
On top of the
Unfortunately.
120, or is that?
Well, look, so what would you be paying, okay, in terms of taxable income? You would have to be paying capital gains tax on all that broker, because you're gonna not touch your 401k, right? You're gonna leave that be until you have to start drawing it at 72. So that means that what you're gonna have to do is pull money out of your brokerage account, and that's going to be your income. You're going to live on that money, right? And so that means that you're going to pay, presumably, let's just say you retired in 2022, then you would say, okay, I'm going to take, let's say $200,000. I need to net $200,000. You won't really need to net that. You have some money in savings, so that's fine. But let's just say you wanted to take $225,000 out of whatever you have invested, and then you pay the capital gains on that. I mean, the good news for you is we talked to somebody yesterday who had this very similar situation, which is if you keep your income, your capital gains and your income, your modified adjusted gross income below 200,000 as a single filer, you're subject to a 15% long-term capital gains rate. That would be perfect for you if you could keep it under 200,000. That would be your goal, because that way you won't have to pay the extra 3.8% Medicare surtax on capital gains. So I think that would kind of be the goal. And if you feel like you want to, I'm not so keen on, you going nuts on the, oh my God, I have to like live by a budget, this, that, and the other thing. I want you to have enough money to do it, but it would be nice to sort of stay in that 15% bracket. And then you would do that pretty much in advance every year for the next few years. And you would, that's what you would live on. That would be your, the net of what you pull out of that account is your taxable income. The only other income you're going to have is interest or dividends from the brokerage account. And so that would add to your taxable liability.
Right. And I have roughly $100,000 a year of interest and dividends.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are capital gain distributions.
Okay.
So I was thinking I just would not reinvest that, and I would
right.
off of that.
Yeah, you could totally do that if you're going to pay it anyway, and then you could take a little bit out of capital gains anyway, and then you're golden. But again, obviously, as always, the longer you work, the better this does pan out for you. It's a hot job market, right? The labor market's tight. No one wants to lose a skilled worker like Laura and have to replace you, okay? And that means to me that you might have an opportunity to talk to the boss and say, hey, you know what? What do you think? Tell me what would the ideal work schedule would be for you?
Well, I haven't put a lot of thought into that. Probably 3 days a week, but the one of the advantages of working a little bit more is you need a minimum of 30 hours to maintain your health benefits.
30 seems fine to me. You're probably working 60 now.
Exactly. So,
okay. So, I like this. I don't know. I'd like you to give some thought to it. And if you think that could work, then I would do it. And as far as for your daughter, I think it's wonderful to be able to help your kids. And I agree with you. It's, she's got this inheritance, which is amazing. When she's in a position where she needs some financial help from you, I think you will be able to help her out. As long as you keep that to a reasonable number. What I don't want to happen is that, does she live in New York City as well?
Yes, she does.
Okay, so here's what I don't want to happen. I don't want you to say like, oh, she just had twins and I'm going to give her $500,000 to buy a bigger apartment. That you can't afford to do. Not right now, because you still need to live on this money.
Right.
So you can dole out. You can give her a $15,000 a year gift. If it's, look, maybe you say to me, out of my $12,500 a month, 1,000 of that is going to my future grandchild's daycare. That's fine, but you know what the parameters are.
Okay, yeah, that's very helpful.
Okay, so if you have a question like Laura and you want to come join us on the program, you just have to go to Jill on Money. That's the website, jillonmoney.com. And we've got a lot of stuff that is on that website. And I really do encourage you to just bookmark it because it is the easiest way to find us and find all the stuff that we do, whether that is previous shows, whether that's TV segments, or whether that's blog posts. All of our content lives at jillonmoney.com. Makes sense, right? Okay, we'll be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. We are trying to take the mystery out of your financial life. We do that by answering your questions. Just go to jillonmoney.com, click the contact button, and we would be happy to either get you on the air or just answer those questions. And we do like it when you come on the air because then you get to join us from the Capital One Bank virtual studios. Capital One, this is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? Let's go find out what is in Mike and Erin's wallet. They're calling on the line from New York. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's a little couples therapy. I feel like Esther Perel. This is great. Hello, Mike and Erin. Who's going to talk first? Let's say Erin. Erin, you talk first. Hi, Erin.
Hi, good morning.
This is exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting for us too, that's for sure.
What brings you to our airwaves? Tell me what's going on, how we can help you out.
Well, I listen to your show, and I like the way you set people straight on their money in such an easy way. I've been working in IT for 28 years and possibly want to retire in a couple of years, so I figure I would reach out to you to see, give me some focus as I feel I'm all over the place.
It's funny. It's like we know how to work. We know how to accumulate, right? We know how to save. But then like the idea of like, well, how do I turn the faucet the other way? It's a little bit harder, right? Mike, how old are you?
I'm 53, will be 54 a couple months.
Okay. And Erin, how old are you?
53.
Okay. You guys have kids?
No kids.
I can't wait to hear how much money you've saved, which is fantastic. Okay, Mike, you've been working in IT for 28 years. What kind of retirement plan do you have right now?
Well, I have a pension that will, with the 100% joint, will give me $3,500 a month after I start that in like end of 2023, 2024. After 2023, they will not contribute anymore. So it's not like if I keep working, it's going to grow.
Okay, so that starts in 2024. Got it. But you'll keep working?
Maybe not.
Okay, let's see if you can do that.
Depends
That's
on what
fair.
you're doing.
I gotcha. So we're going to see if you can retire at age 55. So what else do you have saved?
Our net worth is like $3.2 million. We have 2.8 in investments.
Tell me how that breaks down. When you say 2.8 million in investments, what's in retirement and what's in non-retirement?
Okay, we 400,000 cash, 800,000 in company stock.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, what are you doing? You're rolling the dice. Jesus.
I know. What I like about that stock, though, it pays me a nice dividend. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I can use that when I retire as a, you know.
What happens if the stock craters? How are you going to feel about the dividend when the stock goes from 800,000 valuation to 400,000?
Yeah, I know. But if I still get the dividend.
Oh, my God. Yeah, your yield will be higher, but you'll have less money. So let's not fool ourselves. Okay. I'm not going to ask you what company. 400 in cash, 800 in that stock. What else?
970,000 in my 401k. And of that, 208,000 is in the Roth section.
Okay.
Erin has 347. She has two 401ks from two previous employees. She doesn't work now. And that totals 347,000.
Are those at the old 401k companies or are they in an IRA rollover?
They're with the old companies.
Old companies.
Is there any reason why we shouldn't roll those over?
That's
I mean,
what-
just because it's a pain in the neck to manage it. But okay, let's keep going. So I've got 400, 800, 970, 347. What else we got?
I have a Vanguard taxable account that has approximately 163,000.
And then new to our portfolio is I-bonds. We both just invested 10 each, so there's 20 there.
How about a house? Do we have a house?
We have a house that's paid in full, approximately 400,000.
Would you stay in that house upon retirement, or are you feeling like you want to move?
Want to move? That we don't like the New York taxes.
Oh, poor you. Where would you go?
We think down south like Tennessee, but you know what? Talk is
What?
cheap.
You're from New York. How are you going to move to Tennessee?
That's what I say. It's like talk is cheap. Like if we go down there, we're going to be like, I don't know anything around here.
Let me tell you something. I'll tell you what you can't get in Tennessee. A good bagel. I'll tell you that right now. Or a good piece of pizza.
Well, we don't eat carbs much, so
Oh, God.
that's not a huge loss.
Super boring. Okay, fine.
But we would definitely downsize. Let's put it that way.
Okay. How much do you need to live on? Let's just pretend you stay in New York, just for the heck of it. Because then if we use that as the bogey, then I think will be able to have you move anywhere. So how much do you need to live on right now?
We spend about, and this is being generous, we spend like $3,500 a month on everything. That's
Oh my
food, that's
God.
travel, that's insurance. I mean, we live well below our means.
Wow. 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 Okay. So your pension would cover that. You'll both be able to claim Social Security when that time comes. You can do whatever you want. You're in great shape. How much do you earn right now, Mike?
I earn
Like 160.
165, 165 a year.
165. Okay.
And 20 to 30 of that is a bonus, which they give me half in company stock.
Uh-huh. And that's how you've accumulated so much company stock, because the bonuses are rewarded and you've just sat on top of it, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So here's the thing. I would be remiss. I would be like committing CFP malpractice if I didn't tell you to sell that company stock. Now, you don't have to do it all at once, but a couple of things to remember. Number one, capital gains rates are pretty low right now. It would be nice if you could sell some of this stock along the way and just keep selling a little bit each year, and you can pay your 15% and be done with it. That's pretty cheap price to pay for a big bet that was made. So whether you take that advice or not, Mark, what's the over under on them taking the advice to sell this stock? Yeah, I agree with you. There's no way they're going to do it, but I'm
Well,
going to tell you to do it anyway.
what would you recommend we do with it then?
Then you just reallocate it. You put it in that Vanguard taxable account and you build a diversified portfolio, and you can have dividend producing stuff in there. You can buy, the Vanguard dividend growth fund, or you can buy a bunch of index funds. But you know what, guys? Chances are you're never going to touch most of this money anyway. We'll get back to Mike and Erin in just a moment. If you've got a financial question, you want our opinion, or you want us to weigh in, just go to jillonmoney.com and click the contact button. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here trying to help you make the next best financial decision in your life. So if you want some help, Mark and I are happy to weigh in. We're both certified financial planners. Just go to jillonmoney.com, click the contact button, tell us a little bit about yourself, and we will arrange to have you on the air. That's what we did with Mike and Erin, and let's finish up our conversation with them. I mean, ideally, what would happen is that let's knock the 800 down, right? Because you're going to pay tax on some of it. So let's say that your cost basis is really cheap, and the 800, if you sold it, not that you would do this all, but if you just sold it in one fell swoop, you'd have another $500,000. And you add that to the taxable account, and now you build yourself a gorgeous portfolio that in 2 years supplements you guys from 55 to 65 or 70 even. It's just sort of like a no-brainer. You're not going to spend all the money you've accumulated, but having that one stock occupy such a huge percentage of your total invested assets seems really nutty to me.
My plan was any like new stock they give me, like my new next bonus, liquidate that right away. But that's just still got to chip away at the 800.
I feel like I've gone through this so many times with people. I feel like when I used to be a financial planner in the 90s, I had the same problem. I would talk to people, and I used to have a lot of clients at Texas Instruments. And in the 90s, Texas Instruments was killing it. When I tell you killing it, I devoted a big part of my book to this story about these two guys who both worked for Texas Instruments. And one of them took my advice and sold his stock and reallocated and retired early. And the other one got hammered when the tech bubble burst Nobody was thinking, what happens if? I'm here to tell you what happens if is a very good question to ask yourself. So if you really couldn't care less if your stock position got cut in half and it took a long time for you to recover that, if you really don't care about that, fine. That would drive me insane.
What percentage of our portfolio would you recommend that we leave in that company's stock? Because
I never like to have more than 10% of my invested assets in any one holding. So if you look right now, even if I take even if I took your cash out of it, okay, and I said that you have about, let's call it $2 million or so, almost 2.5 million invested. From that, I would say, okay, 10% of that. That's what you can have.
we both know you're right. We've heard it before. It's hard to swallow.
I
But
know, but
what
it's
you're
like,
saying,
it's so awesome that you have this money. I have this conversation all the time with people today who work with me at CBS. And CBS stock has been on quite a ride over the last, 10 or 12 years. And every time the stock goes down, I get panic stricken calls. And then when I call those people back, when the stock has climbed back up, they're like, nah, I'm not going to do it. They go, like you guys do. And it's like, why be on the ride? You've already done all this hard work. I mean, the upside is not nearly as interesting as protecting against the downside. I'm going to just do something funny because I happen to know the stock. So I just want to do one thing. Year to date, it's done quite well. But let's see. 5 years. Let's compare it to the S&P 500 just for the heck of it. Okay? Over the last 5 years, your stock has underperformed the S&P 500. Underperformed. Okay?
Yeah, it's been underperforming for a long time until a couple of years ago.
Right. But so what are we doing this for? Really?
Complacency, just don't like change.
I feel good that you made the call. There's nothing bad that's going to happen to you for real. I mean, even if the stock collapsed on you, but to just put it in perspective, the S&P 500 is up almost 110% over the last 5 years, and your stock is up 70%. So had you simply been in an S&P 500 fund or even a balanced account, if you had 60% S&P 500 and 40% bonds, you would have outperformed the stock that you're holding. And you know what? I don't know where capital gains rates are going. For all I know, we start to see higher capital gains rates. How are we going to feel then when we had a shot at taking the gain at 15% and not doing it? And you know what else, guys? It's a great time for you to take control of it and to make proactive decisions. And that way you're not guided. And I think that you'll be happy to have done this. I really do. Look, you're in great shape. You've got a ton of money. You've done well. You don't spend a lot of money. I'm not worried for you at all. I just think that in general, if you kind of look at the past, having a bunch of different index funds, and maybe you want to throw some stocks in there for fun, and maybe you want to keep, 10% in this stock, that's fine, for old time's sake. I just don't get nostalgic about securities. I don't get nostalgic about houses. I don't get nostalgic about things. All I care about is how we can use the money that you've worked so hard for, the money that you've saved, and put you in the best position to retire and not think twice about it.
Right.
agreed.
There's nothing bad that can happen to you guys. And if you really just want to keep swinging for the fences and you want to take a lot of risk, fine. But you don't have to. Gosh, I just love having people on the air with us. It's such a great experience. It's better for everyone. It's better for the listener. It's better for us. We can ask follow-up questions, and I think you get more out of it. So when you go to JillOnMoney.com and you click the contact button, say you'll come on the air. It's fun. We promise. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And we're going to finish up the hour with an email question. This is an easy way to kind of round it all out. I like it. Carol says, I have a 2-bedroom condo and it's valued at about $165,000 to $170,000. My mortgage balance is $93,000 and the interest rate is 4.5%. Now that monthly payment includes real estate taxes and insurance. There are 25 years left on the 30-year mortgage. I can refinance it at 2.78% for 15 years, and the monthly payment would be $812, including taxes and insurance. I turn 80 this year. Is this a good idea to refinance? Oh, Carol, I don't know. I mean, you've got, it's an interesting question. But I guess my bigger, larger issue question is, where is this money coming from? Do you have so much extra money sloshing around that you can start to do this now? Is it better to just keep your payment the way it is? How's the cash flow? I don't know. I just feel like I'm not sure it makes a ton of sense, but I need more information. So that's a nice way of saying, pretty please, would you send us some more information? We would so appreciate it. You know, because you didn't tell us what your payment is right now. I don't know if this payment is going up or down. I don't know if you need to actually have this mortgage or not. I don't know what other assets you have available to you. So you see, it's a larger conversation. That's why, gang, I really encourage you guys to come on the air with us. We can make a difference in the kind of advice we can provide because we can ask all these follow-up questions. But that said, Carol, if you want to send us those answers and you want to give us a little bit more detail, we are happy to think about ways that you could consider this mortgage refi question. And oh, by the way, tell us how much it costs to refinance as well. Okay. We will be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome back. It's hour number 2 of Jill on Money. Yep, we are here trying to take the mystery out of your financial life. I know it's hard. You know, these are questions, and we get these kinds of issues that come up, and we know that you're kind of, I don't know, I think there's a psychological term, it's called perseverating or ruminating or spinning around or just driving yourself crazy. I wish you wouldn't do that because we can help you. There are a lot of things to consider that are emotional decisions, and we can probably try to pull out what's emotional and what's financial. And that's the reason we love doing what we do. Mark and I, the executive producer, we love being the certified financial planners to the Jill on Money community. But of course, there's a lot of you listening, and you might have bigger financial needs, or you might have complications that require a more in-depth analysis. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I used to do when I was a financial planner a million years ago. And it is real work. So if you find yourself in that situation where, gosh, I really need more, we encourage you to check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth provides flat fee, conflict-free planning, and you get the planning advice from a dedicated certified financial planner. Now, that is important because certified financial planners are fiduciaries. They have to put your interests first. And the other part of the certified financial planner mantra is that you tend to have a training, and I can attest to this, where you look at someone's goals, not just, oh, I want to look at your investments. Tell me what you want to do. And goal-based financial planning is exactly what Facet Wealth does. So check them out. You can find them at facetwealth.com. Okay, so now let's get going. Let's talk to Dawn in Portland. We're talking retirement. Portland, Oregon, hot market, baby. Very hot market. What brings you to our airwaves today, Dawn?
Well, I am 60 years old. I'm contemplating retirement. Gosh, I just have so many questions. I'm not really sure where I should go from where I'm at.
Okay, well, is the first question how tall I am? Because that's often a question that people ask me.
That's absolutely my first question.
Right. 5'10" and a half. It used to be 5'11". Okay, what's on your mind? Let's draw this out a little bit. You're 60 years old. You're contemplating retirement. How much do you earn right now?
Well, this last year I've had a good year. I made 220, but it hasn't always been like that. I've only I'll be honest, the COVID's been very good to me. I've had 2 decent years, but before that I was at 150. I've spent my life, trying to save as much as I can without giving up, having fun and adventure. So I have a 401k. I have, a couple small brokerage accounts. The 401k has 1.175 in it, and my brokerage accounts have 36,000. And I have that mostly in individual stocks. And then I have a small Roth IRA with 150,000 and a small traditional with 4,000. The good news is I'm going to earn a pension, or I have earned a pension when I retire. And right now it's worth around 95 a year.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's good news. Have a little bit of money saved up, around 35,000, 40,000. But I think my real question is, I own a duplex and both sides are rented out. It's been a solid rental. I bring in around 31,000 a year, but I'm so tired of being a landlord.
I'm so sorry. I mean, sometimes I laugh because I bet you have great stories.
Well, I've had decent renters with actually little drama, so I'm super lucky.
Okay, good.
It's something big. It's a furnace, or it's, a water heater.
Let me ask a couple other questions. So that's the duplex. Both sides are rented out. You have a primary as well, a primary home?
I do. I own a condo. It's not super valuable. It's worth around 500, 480, 500. And
you really have become, you people in these hot housing markets really get a little bit like, oh, it's not worth much. Just about $500,000. That's a lot. Come on.
Not in Portland. The market is high. And I feel like if I sell it, I'm not going to be actually able to roll into something else comparable, because everything is 650 and above right now.
Okay.
But
what's the mortgage outstanding on it?
I owe 285.
What's the duplex worth?
The duplex is actually around 600, and I owe 177.
Do you like this duplex? Could you move into one half of it?
I actually moved. I lived there. It was perfect. I bought it in 2006 for 300. I moved in one side, survived the crisis of 2008. Mm-hmm. It was easy living, but it's small. It's a rental. It's nothing fancy. I could definitely move in it. Just don't want to.
Okay, you don't have to. That's all right. We would never make you do anything you don't want to do. And Dawn, do you have a partner, or are you married? Anything like that?
I am single,
Okay.
No kids.
Okay. And when you look at the pension that you're due, have you already sort of qualified? You said you're 60. Do you have to wait any longer, or are you actually vested and ready to rock and roll on that?
6 months, I'll have full retirement.
Okay. Does that pension also come with any health insurance or not?
So I work for a labor union, and it's a negotiated benefit. And at this point, it comes with health care.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were to keep working, would the pension accrue larger than that, or is it sort of now topped out a bit?
So you need so many years to have the top amount, which I'm there. The only difference is when we negotiate contracts, they could increase the amount.
Okay, I gotcha. All right. Would this pension preclude you from being able to claim Social Security? Would you be subject to an elimination of Social Security?
No, I'll get Social Security.
Do you happen to know offhand what your Social Security benefit will be at your full retirement age?
Full retirement, 67, I believe it's 3,700.
Wow. So, I mean, when you look at that 3,700 plus the $95,000 a year pension, can you live on that?
I guess it's 32. I think I can live on that. The question is, if I retire now at 60, I won't receive my Social Security until so many years. And I think I need that money to live on.
How much do you spend?
Well, my bills are around $5,500 a month, but but
what's your desire? Let me ask that a different way. I'm sorry. If 5,500 is what your nut is, what do you really spend? Is it another 3,500 or more than that? What do you think?
Maybe a couple thousand, maybe a total of 7,500 a month.
So that's like your desired need is $7,500 a month net, right?
Correct.
Okay, that seems very reasonable with where you are right now. We'll get back to our conversation with Dawn in just a minute. Head on over to JillOnMoney.com if you would like to ask your financial question. JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are trying to take the mystery out of your financial life. And if you want further ways to demystify your financial life, why don't you just bookmark JillOnMoney.com, and while you're there, you can get all of our great content, or maybe, just maybe, it's time for you to sign up for our free weekly newsletter. So JillOnMoney.com, sign up for the free weekly newsletter. Why not? All right, let's get back and talk to Dawn. Okay, so we're going to look at two different scenarios, right? We're going to say, this 90 grand that you need, if you were to retire, in 6 months, right? You will still need a little bit of money because that pension is taxable, right? Correct. And so you would need, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 grand extra, I would guess. Maybe sort of generally speaking, another 20 grand just to kind of top you off out of your portfolio, your total portfolio. And you have that. There's no problem here. Like, even if you said that for the next 7 years, okay, until you hit your full retirement age, that you spent some of the money that, and I'm just going to pretend it comes out of the 401k. I'm not even going to touch any of the other money, okay? But we need about 20 grand a year, which really means we need more like 30 grand a year out of the retirement account because you got to pay tax on it. Sorry about that. Sorry, you got to pay those taxes. So even if I looked at your 401k, even if I topped you off and I said, well, you're going to have to spend a $250,000 out of your 401k. You're going to have to pull 250 out over the course of the next 7 years. And you're going to pay the tax on it. And then that along with your pension will see you in perfect shape. And then once you hit your Social Security full retirement age, maybe have to spend a little bit of money, maybe $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. That's it. You're done. So you can retire whenever you want. You really can, which is a different question than the housing question. So we're going to get to that in a second. So you are in great shape. The money that comes out of your 401k, you'll pay tax on. You're not going into a much lower tax bracket because you have that beautiful pension. So, whatever. So what, right? You got the money. It's great.
And so you don't think I should draw Social Security now and just take, it's about $1,000 difference?
No, because why should you you've already done the hard work. There's no benefit for you having a permanently reduced Social Security benefit. Why should you take that haircut? You already have the money. Let's get some of the money out of your 401k slowly and surely. Big deal. So you pay the tax on it. It's not a lot. I'm only saying that you're going to take out, 25 or 30 grand a year. You're going to stay in the 24% tax bracket. You might as well take the money out, pay the tax that's due, and move on. And then when you get your Social Security benefit, it's a guarantee. It's a guaranteed increase of that benefit that, you can't really guarantee anywhere else in your life, and frankly, you're probably going to be able to wait till you're 70 is my guess, because that'll max you out and you'll probably be up at like 3,500 at age 70, which is great. And then you're done and and everything is poof done for you. Now, here's the issue around the housing stuff. If you were to sell the duplex, do you know what your tax liability would be on that?
I don't even know how to figure it out.
Because it's been rented out for a certain period of time, you may need the help of an accountant to help you with this if you do sell it, okay? So you paid $300, it's worth $600. However, because you've been renting it out, you've been able to depreciate it. And when you sell rental property, you have to recapture that depreciation, which sucks because it adds to your tax liability. So what's going to happen is you're going to have a big tax bill, okay? It may be worth it for you to say, who cares? I will let that. I mean, you should not sell the duplex until you retire, just because it'll be better for you tax-wise to do it in a year where you're not making $150,000 or $200,000. But even if you're just so, like you're just kind of done with it, so what's a big deal? You pay the tax, you recapture the depreciation, you pay the tax that's due, you've made 300, maybe you'll net 200,000 after all is said and done. And you now just can add that to your brokerage account. And you can use that instead of pulling money out of your retirement account. If you could just use that to live on through the years before you claim Social Security. It will already have been taxed. There are some shenanigans you can do. And so when you talk to an accountant, what they'll tell you is, well, you got this nice gain. And if you don't want to actually pay the tax that's due, you can move it into a 1031 exchange and you could buy another rental property. It's a little complicated. It's not terrible, but it's a little complicated. If you like your primary, I wouldn't be in the mood to like sell that off either. Unless you say to me, I really don't like it and I want to go somewhere else. I'd stick with my primary condo and see how things go. You're in great shape. I mean, you are in absolutely great shape. There is no reason that you should feel any anxiety about any of this. You've done a great job of saving. You don't have huge expenses. If you do sell that duplex and you pay the tax that's due, you will have a chunk of money to live on between now and the time that you claim your Social Security benefit. So whatever you feel like is going to allow you to enjoy the next 20 or 30 years of your life, if that means getting rid of that duplex, simplifying that piece of it, if that means that you know what, just keep the duplex, it's fine. You could even hire a property manager, I guess, and it wouldn't give you the 31 grand a year, but it would eat it into that. But, I think that when we are approaching the years of transition, I'm much more interested in seeing how you feel about going to work and seeing, maybe I would retire, but maybe you wouldn't. Maybe like just not having the rental to deal with, and maybe you want to like keep working for a couple extra years, whatever it is. But you could call it quits in 6 months and be fine.
Do you have time for one more question?
Why not?
How do I finance a kitchen remodel? Do I take money out of my accounts or do I take out a loan?
How much will this kitchen remodel cost?
I have no idea. I'm going to say $100,000.
Well, I mean, obviously, if the kitchen remodel is done at a time that is, post sale of the duplex, you'd use the money from the duplex. There's a couple things. Let's say that you really are on, I am going to sell the duplex. If that's going to happen, then you could get a line of credit on the condo. You could spend the money as needed. And then once you do sell the duplex, then you can just pay down the line of credit in one fell swoop, right? So I would establish the line of credit first to do that. And then I think that I would pay it down with the duplex proceeds. If not, Mark, how would you feel if Dawn was retired in 6 months and she pulled some of the money out of the 401k now ish to finance the new kitchen? How would you feel about that? What do you want to do instead? Mark doesn't love that idea because it is a possibility. There's a lot of money in that account. We have to give an alternative to the sale of the duplex. So let's say Dawn decides, I'm not going to sell the duplex. Now, what's your next best option, Mark? So, Mark, how do you feel about that, Dawn? Mark's saying, like, you're going to eventually sell the duplex. Let's just get a line of credit on the condo, pay for the kitchen, as you know. And by the way, until you sell it, you're accumulating money. You've got this 31 grand a year that's coming in from the duplex. You can add to that. I wouldn't be putting so much more money into retirement at this point. I might just even turn the clock off on my 401k and use that to sort of self-finance some of the kitchen stuff.
Okay, I like that idea.
Okay, if you, like Dawn, need some opining about your financial situation or a particular question, all you need to do is give us a holler. And how do you give us a holler? I know you know this, but just in case you forget, JillOnMoney.com, hit the contact button. We'll get your message. And on that form, as you ask your question, the last question that we ask you is, would you come on the air with us? And if you are willing to do so, Mark does everything. He arranges it all, and we get you on the air live. And it's so much more fun when we talk to you in person. It just is. You know it. We'll be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we're having so much fun today. Gosh, I mean, you don't even miss that there's no football game this weekend. I don't know about you, but after the amazing playoff season that we've had in the NFL, I don't know whether to downplay my expectations for the Super Bowl itself. You know, it could be a total bad game. That would be a bummer after all these very late in the game OTs and 3-point wins. I don't know. Like, how likely is it that that's going to happen again? Probably not, probability-wise, right? But I'll tell you where you have good odds. Your good odds are that you are stewing over a financial problem and you actually go to JillOnMoney.com and click the contact button. You'll feel better simply for having asked the question. And you'll even feel better than that if we can get you on the air. It's so much fun. That's what we are doing with Casey. Casey's on the line from Oregon. Hi, Casey. How can we help you out?
Well, Jill, I have changed jobs several times over the last 10 years. And as a result, I have a whole bunch of different retirement accounts. So it feels like the money is just sitting in like 8 or 9 different pots. And I...
8 or 9? Stop it. Really?
Really?
Are you contributing to a retirement plan right now?
Yes, absolutely. I've been a really good saver, but I have switched jobs a few times. So it means that all this money is sitting in different accounts. And I felt like I needed some insight on whether and where I could consolidate it and if some of it needed to be converted to Roth.
Okay, Casey, how much do you make?
150.
Single, partnered, married, anything?
Single, no kids.
Casey, how old are you?
I'm 45.
How much are you putting away into your retirement plan right now, and what kind of plan is it?
Right now I have a 401k, and I'm maxing it out, and I am maxing out my Roth IRA.
You've been in this job for a while or not so long?
I just started a new job a few months ago.
Do you own a home?
Nope, I still rent.
Okay. How much is the rent?
It's about $2,000 all in.
That's pretty good. It's funny, you said that are you able to max out your Roth because you're making a traditional 401k contribution that brings you down below the limits?
Yes. This year, because of some other stuff, because I changed jobs, it's no problem. Next year, I think I will be right on the edge of being able to do that.
Right. Okay. All right, but that's fine. So we've just started this plan. Where's is there one plan that kind of has the big chunk of money?
Yeah, I have 660 in an old 401k with Fidelity.
Who's the new 401k provider?
It's with Vanguard.
I hesitate to move everything, of course, at Vanguard, because who knows, you might be changing jobs 17 more times in the next 2 years, right?
Well, hopefully not. And actually, I don't particularly want to move that old 401k with Fidelity. It's got a really good set of funds. It's probably all the other ones, all the other little accounts I'm concerned about.
Can't you just take all of these accounts? Okay, you said you have really good funds, but you could basically have all index funds at Fidelity in an IRA rollover and essentially do the same thing that you have now, no?
Maybe. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
The 650, how much is in, let's say, all the other pieces here? What's going on?
I have 2 rollover IRAs. Those are probably 50,000 combined.
Where are those held?
One's with Fidelity and one's with T. Rowe. I have a Roth with Fidelity. That's 6,000.
Is that the current Roth?
That is the current Roth.
Mm-hmm.
I have an HSA with Fidelity. That's about 4,000.
Okay.
I have a 457 with T. Rowe. That's 18,000. We're not done yet, Jill.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
And then I've got a Roth IRA with TIA, and that's 120,000.
You're using index funds. You're managing it yourself, right?
Yep.
Okay. And you're working and you've got money in the bank. You got a little emergency reserve fund?
Yeah, I've got probably 9 months in savings in a CD ladder.
Oh, you're good. You are good.
Yeah.
Except for all this craziness all over the place.
Well, actually, I forgot. There's one more. I have.
Of course there is.
Of course there is. I have 35,000 in a UK retirement account.
What?
Yeah, with Scottish Widows.
Oh my God. So I see the issue.
Yeah.
I see the issue. All right. I have an idea. How do you feel about, you really like Fidelity, right? First of all, you can't touch the HSA. So let's
that one's got to stay. I like Fidelity, and they are holding the bulk of my money right now.
How do you feel about a real super duper consolidation?
Okay.
Here's what I think you could do. First of all, these 2 separate rollover IRAs ridiculous.
Yep.
There's no reason to have the T. Rowe and the Fidelity. So just move the T. Rowe into the Fidelity. Let's start with that. Okay. I mean, from the Roth perspective, do you want to keep the Roth at TIAA or do you want to, you've got to pick one place to hold. So, I mean, I like TIAA, but you can roll it all into Fidelity and make it easy for yourself.
Yeah, I started the Fidelity account because Tia's website interface sort of drove me nuts.
All right, so good, fine. So now let's take the 120 that's in TIAA CREF and roll it into the Fidelity.
Okay.
Done. The 457 plan, the old plan.
Yeah. So
I think tell me more about that.
That's actually tentatively slated to be part of my down payment if I buy a house next year.
Really? Why would we do that?
Well, the withdrawal rules on it make it possible for me to do that without doing anything more than paying the taxes on it.
So you're just going to pay the tax due. All right. I'm going to just put that aside as down payment with a big question mark on it. Okay. We'll get back to Casey's question in just a moment. If you would like to come on the air, go to JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, the program that helps take the mystery out of your financial life. We're talking to Casey from Oregon, and it's all about the account consolidation, Mark's favorite topic. Let's continue our conversation with Casey. The big question really is, if we look at Fidelity as the place where you're going to hold all this money, are you willing to take the old 401k and roll it over into your Fidelity rollover IRA? Because in that account, which will be the combination, right? That's going to be your combination of your T Row and your Fidelity. It's going to be 50. You roll the 650 in, you've got 700 grand. And all you have to do is, if you want to keep costs low, then all you need to do is just buy index funds. And you can do that at Fidelity.
Yeah.
And so then Fidelity will hold one rollover IRA with 700 grand in it. It will hold one Roth IRA with $126,000 in it, right?
Yep.
It will hold one HSA with $4,000 in it. You will now be able to use your Fidelity platform to manage everything. I'm going to ignore the 457 because you'll end up paying tax on that next year, right? And you'll use that. I don't know what we do with the UK retirement. I mean, honest to God. I mean,
I think it funds a nice vacation at some point in the future.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And then I think you're kind of tidied up. Now, can you tell me a little bit about the house plan? Like, how much are you going to spend? Because $2,000 a month is pretty cheap for a rent.
I think I can get into something for probably 450 to 500. And I can put together about 60,000 for the down payment. So for paying out a similar amount per month, I can probably do a little better in terms of having a yard for the dog and being able to have a garden.
Right. I get you.
Yeah,
I got it. So how are you going to get 60 down? Because I have 18, and then are you going to take some of the money? Where's the rest of this? Where's this magic? Are you going to go figure? Maybe you could pull the 35 grand out of the Scottish widow.
I wish.
I have no idea what the rules are with that.
I checked like 8 years ago, and it looked like it was basically impossible to move the money before I was 55. Some of my emergency fund has been designated for a house, and I have a gift from parents. So,
I love parents with gifts.
Mm-hmm.
They're very good. Okay, I mean, obviously, I'd love you to get 20% down instead of 10 or 12% down. You see what you can do. Let me ask you something. Out of that 150, you max out your retirement account.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a lot of expenses. Theoretically, do you think you could beef up the emergency reserve fund some?
Yeah, I think that's probably the plan for the next year while I sort of look around and see what I want to buy.
All right, that seems good. I'm ready to consolidate. This is like Mark's favorite thing. Mark, do you want to hold Casey's hand and tell her how bad it's going to be to consolidate? One fat Fidelity account, one login, one password to remember, okay? And you'll manage it all. And the only thing that I would just be careful about is that when you're ready to get this going, and Fidelity will help you do this, you just get the money invested efficiently and just use index funds.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny because if you have 401k at Fidelity, you're basically using the assets of Fidelity. In fact, in an IRA rollover, you'll have more flexibility.
Okay.
Then I think we're done. I think that I feel good about this. Is there anything else that is floating around that we should be thinking about for you?
Do I want to convert any of this to Roth in what's left of this year?
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
This is what I would say. How much did you make this year?
About 93 after tax.
Here's the problem that I see. I would love for you to do that. However, then you're burning through your cash. And I don't want to screw you for your home down payment.
Okay.
That's the problem. If more of the money were freed up, if you had, an extra blankety blank sitting in savings, if you're like, I have laddered CDs and I have, 2 years. Yeah, sure. Mark, do you disagree with that? Because I know you want her to convert, but I just feel like if we need the cash for the down payment, that seems to be more important than converting to a Roth. Yeah. Do you have a Roth option at work?
I think I do, but again, that puts me not able to contribute to the
regular
regular
Roth.
Roth IRA.
So I think that's right. I think that next year when it's up, is it 20,500, right, Mark? I think Mark's right. I think you can use a Roth 401k. But again, if you really, really are clinging to like, I love my tax deduction, I have no write-offs, it's fine. It won't matter either way.
All right.
Because I sort of hear that in your voice.
Well, I'm just trying to save as much as I can, I think.
You're doing great. Do you have your will done?
No, I need to do that.
Okay. The reason why this is so important is that, do you have siblings?
Yeah.
If you're going to make choices around giving money away at your death, you got to put it on paper because there's so many really weird rules each state has. Like if you don't have a spouse and you don't have kids of your own, and then half the money goes to your parents and half goes to the siblings, and maybe you don't want that to happen. So you got to really put it down on paper. I feel very confident that you're going to do that. In fact, if you say like, what should you do first, consolidate or do the estate planning? The answer is yes. You do them at the exact same time.
Okay.
All right.
All right. That makes sense.
Are your accounts all over the place? Do you need some help with your consolidation? Would you like to come on the program and talk it through? Just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button. And don't forget to give us lots of details. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And before we finish the program, let's do one more email. I'll sneak it in. Okay. This one is from Ty, who says, I sold a rental property and have $400,000 to invest. Oh, my goodness. I'm 74 and I don't need the money now. Could you suggest some index funds? There are so many out there. And also, would it be best to invest over time or put the whole amount in? Well, Ty, that's a great question. So let me deal with the second part first. There is evidence that even if the market tumbles right after you invest all of the money you are planning to invest, that lump sum investment is probably going to work out better over the long term. And I say that with a caveat because it depends on the time horizon. If you're telling me you don't need it right now, but you need the money in 5 years, then maybe you don't want to do this. But if you're saying, I don't really need the money and it's probably going to be for my kids or my grandkids, that's another way of thinking about it. But if you would rather minimize that anxiety, you could simply dollar cost average in. You could say, well, I'm going to just put in $50,000 a month and I'm going to do it until the $400,000 is actually invested and then I'll be fine. In terms of the types of mutual index funds, I would suggest first that we go backwards and say, what are you trying to do? Are we adding to another kind of an investment mix? And maybe most importantly, what is the allocation going to be that's going to make you feel most comfortable? I know that you could have a stock index fund. You could have a bond index fund. You could have an international stock fund. You could have a real estate fund. You could have a commodities fund. I really need to know a lot more about you and what else is going on. So I encourage you to follow up with us and come on the air. It would be much better. Okay, these big lump sum versus dollar cost averaging questions, I love them, but we got to finish up the program. So if you have a question, just go to JillOnMoney.com. We thank you so much for listening. Lift someone up today. It would make that person feel better, and it will make you feel better. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer. And thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.